Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show. As usual, with me, Joe Redman, ahead of this weekend's crunch game down in London against Brentford, a team that we've all been looking at and saying, we can catch these, but then, of course, they went and won at the weekend. Okay, they only beat Norwich, but it looked like a completely different sort of team. Now they've got Christian Eriksson in there, but we'll get on to that. This week, I am back to doing the interview style pre-game shows. Now, before some of you leave who prefer the ones that I do it by myself, I just do want to say I found that unusual that some people just like the fact that I'm whittering on to myself. A couple of people said, I prefer these pre-game shows because, of course, last week I couldn't get a Chelsea fan on, so I just had to do it by myself. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to meet in the middle and do 10 minutes of me chatting away, giving my thoughts on the game and things like that, and then I'll bring the interview in. Now, I think what people, I think what people did like last week was the fact that I was giving my opinion and then chatting about some recent news and stuff and things like that and bringing it on the screen, because the most of the comments where people said they preferred the one where I just talked to myself were people who were watching on YouTube, both in the comments, and I got a couple of messages on Twitter as well. So I think that's what people enjoyed, the fact that I was bringing in the league table, showing everybody the league table, looking at the permutations of results and things like that. So I am going to do that again today. So don't just leave just yet if you do prefer me doing things like that, because I will be doing it. But I'll be doing the interview as well. And I think that'll be a nice little way to meet in the middle, because I don't think a lot of people really want to just listen to me witter on for 20 minutes, half an hour. And the interview does give us background on our opposition, which is something I can't do, because obviously nobody apart from Brentford fans watches Brentford week in, week out, and that's not a dig. I'm sure it's exactly the same for Burnley. But yeah, let's get into it. Of course, you don't need me to tell you how big this game is. We all know that this one is pretty massive, but some breaking news that I have seen this morning, obviously the day recording this, I'm recording it on Thursday morning actually, so I'm going to get this out pretty much straight away. So if you're watching on Thursday, it is this morning, but there you have it. It is on your screen now. Or it should be. There you go. So if you watch it on the podcast and you do want to see these sort of things if you listen on the podcast and you do want to see these sort of things where I bring things onto the screen and talk about them, then head over to YouTube and watch it on YouTube and we'll see it. But the breaking news this morning is, according to Lancs Live, that Ben Mee will be injured for the Brentford game, which is a massive blow. Let's be honest, it's a massive blow. It's knocked the wind out of my sails a little bit. I was going into this one quietly confident. I know people don't like it when I predict a win, because I've only predicted a couple of wins this season and we've lost both times. But I was eager for this one. I'm actually going down to the game. I was buzzing. I was well up for it. But seeing this has properly knocked the wind out of my sails. So the headline is Ben Mee injury below, with Burnley captain set to miss crunch at Brentford Premier League clash. Nathan Collins is in line to stand in for me against the Bees. The article then goes on to say Ben Mee set to miss Burnley's Premier League game at Brentford. We've just said that. The Clarets captain picked up a knee problem in defeat to Leicester and missed the 4-0 defeat by Chelsea last time out. Sean Dyche described the issue as a knock rather than a twist when discussing Mee's absence after last weekend's defeat, with the boss confident it wasn't a serious injury. But Lancs Live understands the skipper has not recovered in time to feature against the Bees. Now, of course, as we all know, Sean Dyche does his press conferences on Thursdays for these games. So I am speaking to you Thursday morning. So Thursday afternoon, it's only around 1 o'clock, isn't it? We'll all be tuning into Dyche trying to get more information on it. So fingers crossed, Lancs Live have got it wrong. Fingers crossed they have, but I can't see it. So it's looking like Ben Mee is going to be out. Now, I've put it on Facebook, I've put it on Twitter, and somebody put a good comment underneath that, and they said, play him, because the thing that I think I think that the thing that disturbs the defence more is, yes, of course, Ben Mee's absence as well. But when he brings Collins in, he switches Tarker and Collins round. So then Tarker's having a bad game, like he did against Chelsea, and we miss Ben Mee. So for me, keep Tarker in his place on the right-hand side of midfield. Midfield, you know what I mean? Right-hand side of defence, and put Collins on the left-hand side of defence. And do it that way. That's what I do personally. It's very disappointing that Ben Mee's out. I do think that is a big blow for us and could swing the pendulum into Brentford's favour. But like I said, you don't need me to tell you how big this one is. It is, of course, massive. And I will show you just right now why it is massive while I quickly chat a little bit before I can bring the Premier League table on screen. There it is now. There you go. So down at the bottom, of course, we have Norwich. Let's be honest, they're gone. I'm happy to say that they're gone now. Losing to Brentford at home 3-1, was it? I think that's the final straw, I think, for Norwich there. So they're gone. They're on 17 points on bottom. Then you've got Watford, who are on 19 points on second bottom in 19th. Then you've got us, 26 games played, 21 points. And you've got Everton, one place above us with 1 point more, but played one game less. Then Leeds above them, who have played one game more than us and have 2 points more. Then it's Brentford on 15 points. Now, thanks to their win against Norwich at the weekend, it was 3-1, wasn't it? Yeah. Ivan Toney scored a hat-trick. That's a worry. Christian Eriksson played 90 minutes. Well, he definitely started. So that's another worry. Look at their points. 27 points, 28 games played. Burnley, 21 points, or 6 points behind Brentford, 26 games played. So we are 6 points behind Brentford with 2 games in hand. Now, we win this, that's 3 points behind Brentford with 2 games in hand. They win it, they go 9 points ahead of us. And I think if they go 9 points ahead of us, then we will struggle to catch them. Honestly, I think I'm struggling to see how we get out of it if we lose this game. A point, we can still catch them. A point means we are still in it, provided Leeds get beat, because they're playing tonight, actually, Leeds. So they're playing tonight on Thursday, and obviously they're playing on the weekend as well, probably. I've not double-checked that. But yeah, Brentford's been the one that we've all been earmarking for the last few weeks because of their form. But if they can beat Norwich away from home and then beat Burnley at home, that is a massive boost for them. A boost so big that I don't think they'll fall again. I don't think that they'll get out of it, get dragged back into it again, to be honest. And the Brentford fan that I've interviewed, he says the same thing. He says he spoke to me about the Norwich game, and he said he doesn't think it's a flash in the pan. He doesn't think it's a one-off because they're playing Watford. He genuinely believes that that's a turning point of their recent run of form. And he points out the fact that Tony got a hat-trick. And, of course, he's been relatively quiet from what he was at the start of the season after going to Dubai and saying what he said. Basically slagging Brentford off. If you haven't seen it, just Google Ivan Toney, Brentford, Dubai, you'll find it. So he's been out of sorts since then, but all seems to be forgiven with him now because he scored a hat-trick at the weekend. All right, 2 of them were penalties, but still. And Christian Eriksson's come back into the team. I say come back, he's come into the team and he started at the weekend. Now, again, you'll hear more from the Brentford fan in a little bit, but he says that he gives them a different dynamic. Now, Christian Eriksson, we all know he's a very good footballer. We all would have all had him at Burnley. I think he's better than all of the, well, it's not even up for debate, is it? He's definitely better than all of the midfielders that we have at the club. But he's a different sort of midfielder to what normally hurts us. And this is where I'm holding on to a little bit of hope here. The midfielders that hurt Burnley Football Club are midfielders that get on the ball and run at our defence. Whereas Christian Eriksson is a type of midfielder that will sit deep and try and spray balls around. Now, we will defend probably quite deep, and we're quite good in the air. So I think if he's going to try and sit back and just spray balls around, unless he's going behind the fullbacks who have pushed up, which I'm not sure they'll be pushing up too much. But obviously then that comes a debate of, do you want them to attack from the off? Do you want them to be a bit conservative? What do you want to do? But for midfielders that sit back and spray the ball around, we tend to do okay against. We tend to do okay against them. However, we all know Christian Eriksson's a good footballer, and I know he can run with the ball. So if there's a lot of space opened up in front of him and not a lot of space opened up behind the defence, he's probably going to try and run at us. So I think our midfield 2 has got to be on it. I think our midfield 2 has to be Josh Brownhill and Jack Cork. I don't see what Westwood brings to the side at the minute. Now, I'm not one of these fans that's going to say, get rid of him, he's not good enough anymore, he's the wrong side of 30, get rid of him, don't want to see him in the Burnley shirt again. That's far too far. What he's done for this football club over the years has been nothing short of sensational. Thank you very much, Ashley Westwood, for your time at the club. I'll just quickly stop that. Apologies. I'll just quickly get rid of that. Apologies. But yeah, Ashley Westwood, we don't want to get rid of him at all. We just need to. Apologies. We just need to make sure he gets some rest and things like that. And Ashley Westwood plays instead of not Ashley Westwood. The phone call's thrown there. Jack Cork plays instead of Ashley Westwood for the foreseeable. Get Brownhill and Cork in the middle. They just work so well together. And then when Westy came in against Leicester and against Chelsea, he wasn't good enough. So for me, Jack Cork and Brownhill in the middle. Dash, get this one right. If he plays Westy again, based on absolutely nothing, some of the blame has got to start going towards his door. A lot of the criticism recently has been aimed towards the players. I don't think that's fair. I wrote in my Lancs Live column this week about the Dwight McNeil booing, and I'll mention it again now. It's out of order. I think it's completely out of order. Yes, players deserve to be criticised sometimes. Yes, I am not for 1 second saying players shouldn't be immune to criticism. They should be immune to criticism. I have been a person that has booed the team off the pitch before, after the game, and booed the team. I don't necessarily mind that so much, but booing a player while he is playing for Burnley Football Club it's stupid. Number one, it's stupid. Number two, it's counterproductive. And that is the debate that I don't even understand why it's a debate. If people want to say, well, I pay my money, I'm entitled to boo when I want, fine. But then if I say to you it's counterproductive, and then people say, well, no, it's not because it lets him know he's playing rubbish. Do you not think he knows that? Do you not think he already knows that? Dwight McNeil has his standards. He knows when he's playing rubbish. He doesn't need some 25-year-old skinhead in the stand to boo him every time he picks up the ball. Okay, it wasn't that bad. He didn't get booed every time he picked up the ball. But a couple of misplaced passes, fans were getting on his back, and then another misplaced pass, and there was several boos. And then again, when Dyche made a sub, there were a few people sort of like booing simply because Dwight was staying on the pitch. Now, he might not have known that was for him, but of course, he'd have known when he misplaced a pass when people were booing him for. That is never going to work. And people use the example. I put it on I put my article on LinkedIn the other day, and people were using the example of, well, if you worked in sales, I'd obviously let you'd be told that you weren't doing very well. Yeah, you would be after the day or in between sales. But say if you're trying to make a sale on the phone and someone's next to you hurling abuse, that's not going to work, is it? And that's my point. It just isn't going to work. It's not going to make him play better. It's not going to make him happy. So what is the point in doing it while he is playing? If you absolutely have to, leave the booze until full time. But again, I think losing at home to Chelsea, even with an abject performance, it doesn't necessarily warrant the stuff that was happening at the weekend. I think as a fan base, we're better than that. And I think we have to be better than that. If you want these lads to survive, if you want them to turn the corner and be up for the games and go flying into tackles and show a bit of passion, show a bit of commitment, then you're going to have to show a bit of passion and commitment yourself. I've said it several times. Everybody associated with the club, even the kit man, even the players, Sean, the fans, the tea lady, the people in the ticket office, everybody has a collective responsibility to make sure that we get out of this. And if one department isn't pulling their weight, say if the ticket office is shut, for example, and we can't sell any tickets, then obviously no fans are going to be on. We're going to, it's not good enough. If the fans are on the pitch shouting abuse at the players, it's not going to work. If Dyche is picking the wrong players in midfield like he has done for the past 2 games, then it's not going to work. If the players aren't putting in the effort and the desire to want to stay up, then it's not going to work. Everybody, to use a phrase from Owen Coyle, has to be singing from the same hymn sheet. And that is what we need to do going forward. We need to back the boys. And we've been saying it on the page for ages. Back the boys. That's why we stayed up like several years ago in the European season. The fans were behind the lads. And I think at the minute, we're not. I think there's a few cracks appearing in the crowd and things like that. And I just think we need to just all relax, back the boys. And if we go down, then hurl abuse at them, whatever. Half of them are going anyway. So, but yeah, for now, just chill out. Don't be booing players while they're playing for Burnley Football Club. And yeah, that's my pretty much rant done. I'm going to get into the interview, actually. I think this is a good time to get into the interview. I am very pleased. This is the first time I've ever had these guys on the podcast. Even before I started the Turfcast, I've always sort of like wanted to have a podcast. So I've listened to podcasts. And I always listen to football podcasts. Obviously, being a big football fan, I listened to a Sunderland one called Roker Report. I listened to a Watford one called From the Rookery End. That's a very good one. And there was a Brentford one as well. Now, this is from the days when they were languishing in League One. So I enjoyed listening to a Sunderland one who were in the time at the Premier League, a Watford one who were at the time, as they are now, yo-yo in between the 2 leagues. And it was good to always listen to a Brentford one from the lower leagues. Now, these boys are massive. They have around 14,000 followers on what's it called, Twitter, and I've not even checked any of the other social medias. So they are massive, and for a Brentford podcast, and Twitter is very difficult. You'll get a lot of people on your Instagrams and your YouTube sort of like getting fake subs and fake followers. I think you can do it on Twitter. I'm not sure, promise. But it's very difficult to do it on Twitter. So to say they've got 14,000 on Twitter, which is sensational for a podcast for a club the size of Brentford's, I could only respect that. But this is Besotted, and I am joined by Dave from Besotted. Of course, Besotted is a Brentford podcast. B as in the bees, and Sotted as in Besotted. So this is Dave from the Brentford podcast, Besotted. Right, and just like that, we are joined by Dave from Besotted, the Brentford Podcast. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to the weekend.
I won't say I'm looking forward to it. I am incredibly nervous. I'm actually going down. This is like, I have a little boy now, so I don't get to as many away games as I'd like to. So this is the first one I've actually been on this season. It was just too big to not go on. But yeah, I am very, very nervous. I think it's bigger for us than it is for you, obviously, with the league position. But what are your thoughts ahead of the game then? Like this particular game, are you nervous? I know you just said you're excited, but surely there must have some nerves kicking in a little bit.
Yeah, no, there are. I'd be lying if I said there weren't some nerves. You know, it's a little bit tighter than it was, a month or so ago.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the weekend just gone was the perfect one for us. We won, and everyone else around us lost. So apart from Newcastle, which I'm not ruling them out yet. I mean, they've had a decent run of results. Let's not forget that. But they've not played anyone sort of higher up the leagues yet. So there's some defeats coming their way soon. They're not that good.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, 100%. As many teams in the mix as possible.
Exactly, yeah. So let's just talk about Brentford for a little bit. Talk to me about your season so far, because of course you are in the relegation mix, but in the Championship last season, the first time ever in the Premier League, you're probably expected to be in the mix. If anything, people probably expect you to be more in the mix than you are. So are you happy with the season so far? Disappointed?
Yeah, happy, I'd say. It's been a learning curve, and it will continue to be so. You guys have been in this position several times, and you've got out of it. So you can probably have a little bit more calmness in the fact that it's not over till it's over. It's a 9-month season. You don't get relegated in October, and you don't get relegated in first week of March either. There's plenty to play for. It's just the fact that once you get out of that habit of picking up points, it seems to be difficult to buy. But not only you can't buy a win sometimes, and you can't buy a goal at certain points depending on who you're playing. So yeah, it's a huge learning curve, and I think the fact that we got a lot of points, or a reasonable amount of points on the board fairly early, is kind of it's kind of insulated us a bit from the worst of it. But we're not naive enough to know that everyone in this division is good on their day. As we saw up at your place. As an outsider, people say, Burnley, they can't be very good because they're at the bottom of the league. But we saw up at the turf that you were, you that was probably, one of the most impressive performances that anyone's played against us all season, to be honest.
Interesting. Talk to me about sort of like you mentioned the fact that you had that early start, but and since then, pretty much since October, is it November, something like that, you've been in absolute free fall, for want of a better word, picking up a couple of wins here and there. Of course, it looks like you may have prevented the slide a little bit with a very impressive win at the weekend. What's been the difference between the start of the season and since that you've been in free fall? Were you just riding on the crest of a wave at the start of the season, and just everything you touched turned to gold, and then a couple of things went wrong, and then the confidence drops, that sort of thing, or was it anything else?
No, it wasn't really that. It was really the fact that the spine of the team that got us off to a really good start, just they all got injured. David Raya, who's played a huge part in how we play. Although he's the goalkeeper, he's really the 12th outfield player, really. He or 11th outfield player, but he picks a pass, and he's so composed at the back, and he's got the vision, and he's essential to the way we build up. So he was missing for pretty much 4 or 5 months. Christopher Iger, he was out pretty much straight away. Then Ivan Toney got injured and COVID, and as when you do get injury crisis, or when you do get a lot of injuries, it affects teams of our size a lot. It disproportionately affects us because we haven't got 20 international class players. We've got a core of 7 or 8, and then you've got some sort of some potential players, and then you've got some others that are just it really did hit us. And then obviously the COVID situation, we carried on playing really. I think we only had one of our games called off because of us, and others were calling them off at quite regular occurrences. So we carried on playing, which is why we've got we played more than most of the teams around us. So we probably should have stopped because Ivan Toney, who as everyone knows, is kind of he's our landmark player. So without him, you're missing a huge outlet and goals. So we've played badly, not so often. But once we started playing the top teams away from home, we didn't really we were neither this or that. We didn't go and really give it a go either. So in that period, we had Man City home and away, we had Chelsea at home, we had Man United at home, we had Liverpool away, and there was you have to kind of be realistic in those, and Spurs. So we've looked. Hopefully, we've got most of that nastiness out of the way. So we are looking forward to the running, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's obviously one place you want to be, looking forward to it rather than being anxious, like I'm sure most Burnley fans are, Everton fans are, things like that. But talk to me. I want to talk to you about Toney, because obviously he's got an hat-trick at the weekend. It looks like he might be back in form. What were your feelings towards what happened? Was it in Dubai with the video where he said F Brentford? What were your feelings towards that? Because I know if that was Wout Weghorst, for example, I wouldn't be particular. I wouldn't necessarily say I don't want him playing for Burnley again because of the size of the squad we have. Beggars can't be choosers, and obviously he's very, very good. Like you said, he's your landmark player. So, what were your thoughts surrounding all that when it happened?
It does cause controversy sometimes. Toney, Ivan Toney does what Ivan Toney wants. He's a bit of a maverick. I don't want to go too deeply into that sort of side of him, but. He won't take the knee. He's obviously got his reasons for that, but it's just odd. There's a lot of talk around Ivan that's more than what he does on the pitch, and I think all the time he's scoring goals, that seems to be fine or forgiven.
Yeah.
Strikers are in a unique position that they can seem to be, as I say, just cause headlines, and all the time they're scoring goals, it's fine. And the minute they don't, then obviously it becomes an issue. Tony's not in a bad run of form. I think he's scored 5 in the last 6 or 7 games. So it's all been forgotten. If he was a goalkeeper or a defender, then I think it would have been sort of he would have been reminded. The fans, to be honest, they haven't really got on his back. There was obviously some social media reaction to that. It was obviously unsavoury. I wish he hadn't done it. It was just odd having to just explain that, making apologies online and stuff like that. But we've all done stupid things around women sometimes, haven't we?
Yeah. What's the mood like amongst the Brentford fans then? Because it's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit anxious at Burnley at the minute. You got fans booing players, which is outrageous while they're playing for the club. It's just ridiculous. People will say, "Oh, we pay us money, we reserve the right to do things like that." But Dwight McNeil were getting a bit of stick at the weekend while we're playing against Chelsea when he made a bit of a bad pass. People were getting on his back, booing him. That sort of thing just isn't going to help. If we're in a relegation battle and the fans are turning on the players, that just isn't going to help. So what's the mood like at Brentford? I presume it's better than that because you were half expected to be in this position at this time of the season. Yeah,
the mood's all right. I mean, the win on Saturday, obviously, it was sort of like it's all been forgotten. We've gone behind in games at home, which almost every match, which it kind of that kills the vibe as well, because you can be bang up for a match, and we've also had some really strange situations in games. Like I wouldn't call getting a player sent off as strange as such, but I mean Newcastle 2 Saturdays ago, there was a great vibe in the pub. Everyone seemed to be up for it. We could smell that we were going to win, and I believe we were going to go out and win that game. But we get a player sent off in the 10th minute, and it just changed everything. The place went, and then. The Wolves match a couple of games before that, we started off the game on fire. Again, there was points there. We knew there was points there. Then 2 of our players collided. Both had to be taken off. So we had concussion subs come on. Then we had I don't know if you've heard about it or saw it. Then there was a drone over the grounds. And then they stopped the game for 20 minutes. And then it was just bizarre. And then the whole second half, there was like a police helicopter just hovering over the ground. It was just, it wasn't normal. And then we lost.
Yeah.
So we needed 90 minutes with 11 men on the pitch playing well. And that's what we got at Norwich. So I think if we can stop this randomness and get all our best players, firing again, let's not get carried away. It was a win against Norwich. It was an overdue win. We had to win at some stage, but it was. I think it's hopefully a bit of a turning point.
Yeah, we're going to ask you about that. Do you feel like it can be a turning point, or was it just like a flash in the pan? Because if you look at your form recently, like I said, it's been hot and cold from the start of the season. Is it either a flash in the pan, just a win because you play Norwich, or just in typical Burnley fashion, you've turned the corner just a week before your players?
I hope we've turned the corner. That's my heart and my head saying that. Again, we've not been playing terribly at any stage. It's just obviously, we've gone out against the bigger clubs and and tried not to get smashed, and we've done well in that. Liverpool beat us 3, but the teams around us, look at Leeds, they lost 6 and they've lost 7s and they've lost whatever's against Man City. We only conceded 3 goals in combined against Man City, over 2 games, and then most teams do that in a half. So our goal difference isn't exceptional, but it's again better than a lot. So if it comes down to equal on points, that's going to make a huge difference as well. So I think we have turned a corner, yeah. And Christian Eriksson's sort of starting now. He played 90 minutes. So that's a factor. I think he's kind of raised the bar a bit as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Eriksson. Is the quality that he brings into the middle of the park obvious? Was it obvious against Norwich? Is he the sort of player that can drag you 20, 30 yards up the pitch and pick that killer pass?
He can pick a killer pass, yeah. We've not seen him anywhere near his best as yet. We've only seen, saw 90 minutes at Carrow Road, and we saw kind of half an hour during the Newcastle game. So he's struggling to get 90 minutes kind of top fit. Obviously, I don't think the health issues are a concern as such, as in during the game. I think he's fit enough to do that. It's obviously just getting up to speed. He's a bit rusty. So there's room for improvement there. But yeah, you can see in glimpses that he's able to pick a pass. His vision is there. It's just obviously that intensity that's kind of slightly a bit lacking, but there's others around him that can do the running. Just give him the ball and let him sort of orchestrate. So I think that's what we're expecting, really. Him just to be a little bit deeper, just pinging passes, kind of playing balls behind, getting players to run onto stuff, and hopefully getting a few free kicks around the area that he can take.
Yeah, he's obviously good at free kicks, isn't he? So what are your thoughts on the Clarets then? I always try and ask people's opinion on our club. Obviously, we see them every day. We all have our own thoughts on Burnley Football Club. But what are your sort of like thoughts and opinion? Not just this season, but sort of like a club as a whole and the way that they operate and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, as I said towards the beginning, that the game up at Turf Moor was one of the ones that kind of we went, okay, right, there's more to you than just the physical side. There was you played some football that afternoon. I mean, whether that happens frequently enough, I mean, I'm not the best one to judge because I don't watch you obviously week in, week out, but you've lost a lot of games. You've not played as many as some around you, so you're in a kind of a false not a false situation, but what the league table says, it isn't necessarily a true picture until you've played as many games as everyone. It's we're not on the same sort of line, are we? But yeah, I mean, you're not. I don't enjoy watching you play, if I'm honest with you. But then again, I've not enjoyed watching us play sometimes this season. You've got to do what you've got to do. You're some of the matches are so weighted. There's no way you're going to win it, and if you can get close, so you just got to play that way. And obviously, your manager's, he's very good at setting you up and motivating. It wouldn't work for us, I don't think, but it's kept you in this division for a fair few years, so you can't really knock it.
Yeah, fair enough. You mentioned before that the Newcastle game and before the Wolves game, there's like a feeling in the pub there, you're like, yeah, we're going to win this. Obviously, you're not in the pub now, but what is the feeling amongst Brentford fans ahead of this weekend?
I say this pretty much every week. I take a point right now. I think we have to not lose. This is the game where we need to keep you 6 points behind us, if not 9. So I think probably you guys at the moment are the ones that not I fear. I'm not worried about the game. I think if we play to our potential, we'll get something out of it. But that's the gap that I would like. That's my safety buffer as far as I'm concerned. As you said, Everton are, they look terrible at the moment. You've got Norwich that are just. I assume that they've gone now. There's still too big a gap. Watford, they can play okay. He's got them tighter, but I just don't think there's getting into that habit of winning every week is very difficult. I don't think any of the clubs there are going to do that. They're not going to put 3 or 4 wins together. So I feel if we can get something out of Saturday, we probably only need another 1 or 2 more wins, probably 2 more wins, and we'll be laughing.
Yeah, fair enough. I do agree with you, though. A point would be a much better result for you. We need to go out and win it. We're currently 6 points behind you. We have played 2 games less, though. So if we win this, it's 3 points. And of course, then we've got 2 games in hand on you. For the last,
you've got a game tomorrow on Thursday night, though, haven't you? So
on Thursday night, off the top of my head, I can't remember. We may do. Not this
week.
Not this week. Okay. Not this week. I thought you meant next week. But no, not this week. Unless I've missed some things. I'm working tomorrow, so I hope we don't. But no, we don't have a game. But I'm conscious that you need to go. But I do want to just quickly ask you a couple more questions. Since the Brighton win, since we won at Brighton, we've been pinpointing Brentford and sort of like saying Brentford are the team we need to, not necessarily Brentford are the team that are going to go down, but they're the team that we can catch. We're looking at you and thinking, if we play and get some wins and the form that they're in, we can catch them. Do you think that's fair, or do you think we should be looking at your Leeds and your Evertons because they're in, dire straits, a pair of them?
I think probably before the Norwich game, we would have been a bit more nervous. I think what the Norwich game has given us, I wouldn't say it's certainly not a swagger but it's just that giving us a bit of confidence and a bit more belief that we can score goals, we can create chances, really good quality chances. The points can come. It doesn't seem like the whole world's kind of against us. So. Yeah, I wouldn't underestimate us. I think we were out for giving a bit of revenge as well, because we didn't do ourselves any justice up at your place. So it was I think it was our first defeat, and it was
our first win of the season.
That's right, and it was your only win up until fairly recently as well, wasn't it? We had that kind of like, well, they've only won 1 game and it was against us. So I'm looking forward to it on Saturday. As I said, I think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna be a pretty game, because that's not the way you want it to be played. But I think we have to create chances and we have to take them. But I think Tony and Eriksson and 1 or 2 others have kind of, they are probably a little bit more confident after Saturday.
Yeah, fair enough. Before I do let you go, a couple of predictions. First of all, predictions for the game this weekend, obviously.
Right. So if I'm a betting man, which I'm not really, I'd go for a 1-1 draw. But with my Brentford head on, I'll go for a 2-1 Brentford win. I'd say, 2-1 Brentford win.
I don't think you're going to be far off with either a score draw or a 0-0 draw. For me, it's one of these games where we have to win. And there's been a few of these games recently. Newcastle away, lost. Leeds away, lost. But then Brighton, it was a case of, right, now or never, lose this and you're pretty much gone. And then we put in an excellent performance. And I'm hoping that Burnley turns up and it's 2-0, 2-1 Burnley. So I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley. But that is proper claret tinted glasses. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and expect that at all. I think you're a better side than that. That is full Burnley tinted glasses. And finally, who do you think is going down?
Norwich, Watford, Burnley. And if you're coming down to the pub, I'll buy you a hot Benny after the game.
Nice one. Did they do Benny's down there?
We'll bring some. We'll bring some. Yeah, everyone's addicted to Benedictine after we're coming up there. We went to the Miners Club, and
yes.
we had hot bennies and then Benny bombs. So we were pretty rocking, even though we lost.
Yeah, can imagine. Yeah, the Benny is the drink. Benny is the drink around here. I've got some downstairs. Always have some at the mine. I'm at the Miners actually quite regular. I probably would have been in after the Brentford game. If that, I'm pretty certain I was. It's a shame I'd have missed you. But like I said, I'm conscious you've got to go and record your own podcast. So can you just quickly let everyone know where they can find you and all your content?
Yep, come over to Besotted, BEESOTTED on Twitter. There's links to the podcast over there. Or if you go to prideofwest.london, there's all the podcasts are listed there. Or come to besotted.com and there's links on the website. So you can come and find us, and obviously, hopefully, we'll copy you in on Twitter, and you can retweet that hopefully as well.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, I know you've got to go and do your own. So thank you very much for joining us. That's been Dave from Besotted, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast, mate.
Pleasure. I'll see you Saturday, hopefully, mate.